This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Chris Schmalley, Senior Fuel Sales Development for the Renewable Energy Group. Chris, great to see you. Good to connect.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, and awesome to connect as well in this Zoom world that we live in, right?
Yes, I just live in this little thing. It's like a weird video screen. They never let
That's
me
right.
leave. I'm just chained to it.
Yep.
Glad to connect with you today because lots of talk about fuels and the future and sustainability and what it all means and where we're all going, right? We saw recently electric truck announcements coming down the line. Diesel is getting more efficient. So great to connect with you. I kind of want to just get a lay of the land here from your point of view. So from where you sit, what's the low-hanging sustainability fuel options for fleets looking to move away from fossil fuels in the long term?
It's a great question, and for us, one of the things that at REG, with being a biodiesel and a renewable diesel producer, to us that is the fuel that is the low-hanging fruit. It is a fuel that fleets and those types of companies can use right now without changing anything from an infrastructure standpoint. They can. It's easy to get. It's easy to blend with their petroleum diesel, and they can blend at as high levels as they want to blend it. And so we really think that is the low-hanging fruit because of just the ease of use that comes with it, and the idea that it's readily available right now, and they can buy it pretty easily from producers or distributors or whatever value chain they want to go down.
Okay, yeah. So let's go into that a little more because even I'm a little fuzzy on, okay, what is that and what does it mean? And it sounds cool, but also I'm concerned about the quality of fuel I'm putting in my tank, right? So what are some of the common misconceptions you have to clarify for a lot of trucking fleets when it comes to biofuels?
Well, I think the first thing is that you have this idea from fleets and other folks that the OEMs, the original engine manufacturers, don't support the use of blends, and
Right.
and that we have those conversations constantly, and we work with the OEMs constantly, and in fact a ton of OEMs promote and support B20, and a lot of them are at least supportive of B10 or blending at 10%, and
Yep.
so we're those are some misconceptions that they just absolutely will not accept that fuel into their engines and things of that nature. So we have to have those conversations quite a bit. And then just the overall concept of, is the fuel quality good, and what, but the biodiesel industry is much different than it was 15, 20 years ago. It is actually the highest, or the most regulated and tested fuel out on the market from a quality standpoint. So
Okay.
when we talk about fuel quality and those types of things, and that gets brought up, we have a technical team, and there's a ton of even beyond our office, obviously, right, that a ton of technical people and scientists and chemical engineers and those things that we bring into the equation to kind of quell those concerns, because it is still something, people read something from maybe a bad experience 15 or 20 years ago, and they still think that's the way it is right now. And the reality is that the industry was just getting rolling, and people were learning stuff, 2 decades ago. And now you have experts and producers and companies that have really perfected it. And again, it's the most federally tested and regulated fuel there is out there. So getting over the quality expectation, if you will, and then some of the OEM stuff, I think, are probably the two biggest misconceptions that we have.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting when you talk about that because we talk a lot about electric trucks, and now hydrogen trucks are a talking point that's growing. But to your point, kind of in parallel, still lots of questions for, like, how does that even work?
Right.
And
Right.
what are the equipment expectations there? And this sounds, as you said earlier, something that fleets could look at as an option to really start moving this direction today, really put that foot forward away from fossil fuels in a meaningful way. Diesel technology is still going to be the main technology that most trucking fleets are going to be moving their loads with here in the near future. So can you, how do I get started, right? I know fleets probably want to make sure, to your point, durability and proper engine protection is there. How can I keep an eye on trucks to do that? And what are some of the best practices if I'm starting a pilot program to see if this is for me?
Yeah, I think some of the, in talking with, especially the guys and gals on our sales team that deal with working with fleets specifically, when they're going into a situation where there's a fleet that isn't currently blending biofuels or using biofuels, and they are interested in it but don't know a lot about it. Some of the things we talk about is kind of, as much as a biodiesel producer, as we want people to jump in with 2 feet and start blending at high levels right away. We want to be good stewards of the industry too. And so as we're starting people out, if they're kind of having reservations, then, we kind of take the tack like, okay, it's okay if you just want to blend at 5% to see how it's going, and just kind of easing into it that way. You literally don't have to change one thing in your operation. You don't, the fuel blends together great. You don't have to change anything in your trucks. It's our technical people don't like it when I say this, but it's a drop-in fuel. It really is. And so if people are having reservations about going all in right away, then we try to ramp it up, for lack of a better term. Okay, try it at 5%, and after a couple months, you'll see 10% can work, and then up to 20%, and that's, most people are doing it at 20% once they get really fully rolling. Okay. There's some that look at higher blends to 30 and 50%, and we love that, and we're certainly willing partners in that endeavor. So it's that, in terms of getting started, if people are having reservations about it. And then, then from there, it's, you'll see some fleets that will, at some point, maybe depending on what kind of tank space they have, they'll change out a diesel tank for a biodiesel tank. And, they'll start to have some of that, invest in some of that infrastructure down the road, but they don't have to. I mean, a lot of companies that we work with, they'll have a diesel tank for part of the year, and then they'll change that out and just make it a biodiesel tank without adding any infrastructure at all, depending on what their blend levels are going to be. So it's really kind of cool from that perspective, because you can make that change without having to invest a ton of money in infrastructure if you don't want to.
Okay, can you kind of give me an idea of how the blending process works? Like, is the onus on me as the fleet and doing the blend? What service do you provide in helping me get that blend and make sure that I'm getting the right mix there?
Yep. So a lot of producers, so there's actually a couple different ways. Producers can sell a fleet or, a company, B100 or B99.9, which is, straight biodiesel. And if they have the tank infrastructure and the blending infrastructure, then they can blend it on their own site. And so some that have made that investment do that and prefer to buy it that way. But then at all the at diesel terminals and racks all across the country, you can buy blended fuel at the rack. And so if someone has, a contract with us and they want the blended fuel already delivered, then we can deliver B5, B10, or B20 right to them, drop it in their tank. They don't have to blend anything on their own. They don't have to change anything. They're getting the blend already, and they just they put it into their trucks and off they go.
Perfect, for sure, because definitely at the fleet manager level, making that decision, you just want to make it easy for your technicians, your drivers, right? You don't want to have them putting a lot of thought in it. You want to be able to kind of set it and monitor it as you need it, and not complicate them or even add any kind of doubt into what they're doing. So making that seamless is important.
Yeah, and that kind of gets back to that second question about misconceptions. Like we run across, whether it be fleet managers or whoever's in the position of buying the fuel, if they've been doing it a long time a certain way, people are adverse to change, right? And the minute you introduce something different, they're like, oh, how is this going to change my life and my job? Well, in our scenario, we don't feel it will. Like you're literally buying a different fuel, and part of the fuel is still the same, right? It's still petroleum diesel, but just there's some renewables in there, and it doesn't have to change that much at all. And then so we have those conversations, and as we get people more interested and involved and used to using it, then it might be after the fact that they start going, well, maybe we should invest in some infrastructure, but at the onset, it's nothing different. We're just delivering fuel like you always got it delivered. It's just maybe a little bit different composition.
For sure. But the one major change would be that it does move them closer to the sustainability goals. I know a lot of fleets are announcing sustainability goals, and moving in that direction today can just kind of give you a head start. Lots of technologies out there that still plenty of question marks, but if you can start moving toward it today, all the better than waiting around and eating up that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. And I guess that would be the way it would change the fleet manager's life, is that they get a lot of kudos from their sustainability people and their, because it's better for the environment. And I think, we have the data to show that, and that's something we're proud of, and we want to be good stewards of that cause as well. And so, we try to, there are folks that, the sustainability thing is becoming bigger and bigger, and that's something that we can certainly offer without, with minimal investment. So.
For sure. Chris, very good catching up with you. I really appreciate all the great info. I'm sure I'll be talking to you again soon.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.